Welcome to the Positive Pants Podcast. Mindset, motivation and inspiration to help you find your positive pants. It's time to let go of negative thinking, understand why you do what you do and stop the self-sabotage with your host, Fran Excel.
Welcome to the show. As always, it's Fran Excel, your resident subconscious success mentor, helping you find your very own pair of positive pants so you can get out of your own way and live a life that you love. If you want to stop self-sabotaging your own success and let go of the stress, then you are in the right place, my friend. Make sure you download your free Stressed to Success guided meditation at bit.ly/stress to success as my little gift to you just for being here. Please do subscribe, share and review. It really, really helps people that need to hear this message find us, and I so appreciate it. In the show notes, you'll also find details of how you can work with me and where you can get your mitts on my meditations, products, printables, programs. You can find it through the link in my bio on Instagram, which is my favorite place to hang out. So please do come join me over there at I'm Fran Excel. Tag me in your takeaways, slide into my DMs. I'm here for it. So that's the formalities over, my love. So let's jump to the content. I am back in the countryside. So it might sound a little bit different now with all these soft furnishings. It's amazing what a difference that makes. However, there is no cat purring. There are no wooden situations echoing. There is, however, a massive mosquito. So apologies if you hear him. So I want to have a chat with you today about the roller coaster. That is the identity death and rebirth. Sounds very dramatic. That you experience during any big change and transformation work. It's worth talking about it for so many reasons, including that it hugely helps you understand certain thoughts and feelings that are highly likely to come up for you, which makes that process a little bit easier. But it also helps in understanding why it can sometimes feel so tough. And even when we really, really want to change something in our lives or about ourselves or whatever, and why we might then procrastinate and avoid it and feel like we're in a constant battle with ourselves. We have to start by being honest that any big change is normally a total identity shift, right? Sometimes referred to as an ego death. The ego is literally the sense of self and what protects that sense of self as well. That's why we're always talking about like overcoming your ego, etc., etc. It's a huge part of the work of Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. So it's your very own little hero's journey. And we all know how they tend to pan out, right? Usually these ego deaths are absolutely for the better. But it involves you going against your current unconscious wiring and programming, which, funnily enough, registers as life or death situation to your nervous system and your ego. And you have to go through that to get to the other side. The rebirth or awakening, if you will. So whatever change you're currently in or looking for or trying to seek, whether it's a new career, a new business, navigating loss of any kind, weight changes, all the various phases of parenthood, anything along those lines, you're going to bump up against a few things along the way. And I wanted to have a little chat about those. But trust the process and trust that it's leading you to where you're meant to be. And somewhere where you're going to be even more you in the best possible way. It's stripping back the layers of the onion to get back to who you really are at your core. And unfortunately, it can sting along the way. So please get all the support that you need to. You do not have to go it alone. And in fact, I don't recommend it. You know, that support might look like a friend, a coach, a mentor, a therapist, or a body worker. So things like my absolute go-to, swear by, is acupuncture. It might be Reiki for you. It might be, like, there's so many different avenues into body work. And you know how we've talked about how the mind and body are a connected system, right? It's a really, really fundamental and foundational thing to consider. So get whatever support works for you and resonates with you. And those things will absolutely speed up the process and turbocharge your growth. So I myself have had so many identity deaths and rebirths in my life. And I think it's a nice exercise to really, really allow yourself to recognize these and actually write them down as a reminder of how strong and capable you are. A reminder of what you learned in the process, because I'm sure it wasn't pretty at the time. A reminder that you've overcome every single one of your worst days, right? Everything is temporary and evolves. And that is a good thing. But something that many, 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 many of us fear immensely because it's uncertain and unknown, right? So my previous identities feel so foreign and unrecognizable to me now. I don't identify with them in the slightest, but I have 100% love, gratitude, and compassion for every single one of those parts and previous versions of me. So your identity is wholly tied up in your unconscious programming, your upbringing, values, and beliefs you hold about yourself and the world. A lot of it is around the boxes that you put yourself into, the experiences that you've had, the job you have, the level you're at, the salary you earn, the place you live, the people in your life, the relationships you have. Oh, someone wants to get hold of me. Pay attention to when you make I am statements and how you label yourself. All of this combines to create our identity and who we believe that we are. Now, when we're going through a death and rebirth of ourselves, there are certain stages you might find yourself in, which, even if they're not so fun, you can recognize as progress in absolutely the right direction. And one thing that frequently comes up is questioning everything, which can feel exhausting, right? You're likely to feel tired, but you're questioning everything about who you are and what you believe. Like, who am I if I'm not this thing, or if I don't have this thing? Remembering that the old version of you might already be dead, in inverted commas, because it sounds so dramatic, and no longer around. It's a lighter way to put it. And a new version of you is coming, but you might be in that in-between stage where you haven't fully figured it all out yet. And it can often feel messy and confusing, and that's okay. It's part of the process and it needs to happen, and is a really, really natural and often necessary part of our growth as a human. You might feel a lot of confusion and a state of feeling really unsettled. The way I've always described it to friends when I'm in it, when it comes to myself, is I just feel discombobulated. One of the best words in the English dictionary, and just so incredibly descriptive. You can't quite put a finger on it, but you definitely don't feel yourself, right? You might feel all the emotions under the sun. It can feel like a complete roller coaster, but please try not to suppress this and let yourself feel what you feel and allow yourself some compassion, because it can be, or at least hugely feel like, deep, deep grief that you're feeling, and it needs to be allowed to be there and processed. You're allowed to grieve for that previous version of yourself. Next, the cocoon phase is a really big part of it. And this can feel particularly confusing if you identify as a social butterfly normally. You might want to be by yourself a lot. It's a phase and it's not forever. So listen to it rather than beating yourself up for it. Again, it's checking in with, like, what is my identity? What am I moving into? What am I moving towards? And you might feel a desire to isolate yourself from others during this phase, which is okay. But try to communicate it with people if you can, though, because if you do, they feel informed and won't make up stories about you not caring about them. And then you can enjoy your cocoon guilt-free. So communication really does make this phase easier, ironically. You might want to just compose a little message. So instead of having to put the effort into responding properly to people, you can just send that. Or you could send it in advance and be like, hey, I'm going into my cocoon. I promise I love you and I will speak to you when I get out. It makes a massive difference. Then you've got two parties not creating stories about each other. You might also find yourself relating less to your friendship circle. And the fun part of this, because it sounds like it's an awful thing, but the fun part of this that I found every single time is the new friendships and relationships that develop. Society puts a lot of worth onto longevity in friendships, relationships, job, whatever. But I actually find a lot of the time the people that you meet later in life, particularly after a few deaths and rebirths of self, are the ones that you really, resonate with and might actually be your lifers, you know? So it's clear to see with all of this going on why we might resist it, right? It can be scary. But remember, you still have choices and communication goes a long way. But let things fall away that are meant to fall away. It doesn't mean it will always be that way. I've had friends who fell away for certain phases of my life because that's what these are, right? They're different phases, they're different versions of you. And then they came back and we're closer now than before, you know? It's an evolution. That's the way to look at it. It's an evolution. It's learning to feel safe to let go. Know it's the right thing for right now and trust that if a person or thing is meant to be in your life, it will be in your life. It just might not be right for it right now. Yeah, don't fear that. The next phase, but after all of this stuff, will see you potentially feeling things like a sense of pride or gratitude, even if you've never felt that towards yourself before, a sense of increased self-worth and self-compassion. You might find yourself smiling more, feeling more capable, stronger. So if you're in the midst of being a glorious little changeling and experiencing your own death and rebirth of self and the ego, then I see you. I feel you. Good on you. You're a rock star. I'm proud of you. And I hope that you can't wait to meet yourself because it's going to be so damn worth it. So if you got value from this and you know in your gut that now is the time to step up and start rewiring your thinking and start changing things for yourself, then join the Positive Pants Toolkit app and community so you can work out what needs to happen to get you from where you're at right now to the action-taking success you know you can be. And if you want my eyes and ears on your problems, then I work with people one-on-one and through my programs. You can find all the details to join the toolkit or book in a call in the show notes, the link in my bio on Instagram, and on my website, franexcel.com. So stop waiting for if and when and choose to change things now because you can. I'm here to believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. And as always, I hope you found this helpful and I'll see you next week. Bye.